Okay, so after 50 videos, we've finally made it now to the bread and butter of really what this channel is all about, and I'm definitely excited to get to it. But first, I wanted to make this quick video here just to kind of summarize and review, what I've discussed so far, and to point out what specific things are actual things that you could already practice and aren't just any sort of, helpful conceptual knowledge. This way, you don't let anything go by the wayside in case you missed it, and you understand what things you can still already be practicing as we start to now go into all the other stuff to practice. And if you're serious, don't neglect this stuff. There's a reason why I'm highlighting these things here today, because they work. So before I continue, my name is Derek Plavin. Welcome to episode 51. And if this is the first video you've ever seen on this channel, this is basically a free online jazz guitar course that unfolds in a logical manner and keeps building upon itself. And if you really want to benefit the most, I would go back to the beginning and try to go in order as best as you can. I know that a lot of the videos are long. Can you believe that I actually made a talking video that turned out less than 15 minutes?
Thank you, God. Victory!
But what you could do is watch this video here first since you clicked on it, and if you like it, then you go back to the beginning and watch maybe the first 3 or 4 episodes, and then you could take it from there. And I'm also available for private lessons and have a lot of accompanying PDFs that go along with many videos on this channel, and all that stuff can be found on my website as well as my Patreon. Alright, so I'm not sure how many videos on this channel any one viewer may have already seen. Maybe you've watched every single video so far, and if you are actually one of those few people, I just want to say thank you so much. It really means a lot to me that you're enjoying the content. However, I'm sure most people haven't seen all the videos, or at least the majority of the videos on this channel. So I thought it would be good to summarize the gist of what I've already discussed. The first 4 videos were basically an introduction to this channel and discussing really what it's all about. And these videos also included things like a basic prerequisite of musical fundamentals that I think you should be generally familiar with before going forward, as well as a fair amount of jazz philosophy, I suppose you could call it, that I tend to resonate with, and generally sets a tone for how exactly I approach what I do and where it's coming from. If you haven't seen these videos already, episodes 3 and 4 especially clarify this. Okay, so after this, episodes 5 through 14 are all relating to this overarching topic of what I like to call acquiring musical material. Basically, these videos are all about common things that I may do to gather actual music that can eventually be practiced. I point out the obvious that this generally falls into 2 main categories: getting material externally from things like listening, transcribing, and different kinds of books and videos, etc., and getting things internally from stuff like different kinds of composition methods. Now, the important thing to understand about what I discuss in these videos is that although you may find the stuff that I say helpful or insightful, and I'm obviously making these videos for a good reason, in my opinion, this topic doesn't exactly pertain to what you're actually practicing. As obvious as this sounds, you don't actually become a better jazz guitarist at any reasonable rate if you aren't actually putting in any sort of consistent, legitimate practice. Just learning about how stuff works in jazz music and what may be possible to do doesn't really help you, in my opinion, as much as you may think. If I use the gym metaphor again, this would be like if you wanted to get in shape or get stronger or something, and you learned all about the different exercises and what they are and how to do them correctly, and then thinking that that alone would be enough to give you some sort of progress at any reasonable rate, without ever learning anything about how you might program this stuff into a routine that can give you efficient results. So just be aware of this, because I think that there's a lot of music education videos out there that are really basically all about teaching you different musical concepts. And all that stuff can potentially be great, especially if you really like what they're saying, but realize what that is and understand that how exactly you're going to practice something is, in my opinion, a lot more important for your actual progress. After this, episode 15 is basically similar to this video here, acting as a sort of bridge between what came before it and what came afterwards. I pointed out that before I dive headfirst into all the different stuff that I actually practice, which is what we're about to get into going forward, I thought it would be better if I started with various jazz fundamentals that I feel are important to know if you want to improve your chances of progressing as a jazz guitarist efficiently. It made sense to me to cover this stuff first, since the majority of it is more knowledge or conceptual based, as opposed to more practical, hands on the guitar type of stuff. Think of it like driver's ed being first before ever doing any actual driving lessons with an instructor. So all of this is found in episodes 16 through 50. Now, amongst this last chunk of jazz fundamental videos, like I stated at the beginning of this video, there are already a few videos that I have that cover topics relating to what to actually practice. Really, the main purpose of this video is to point out these particular videos and to kind of group them all together under this common label of things that I've already discussed that are actual practice habits and should be done on some sort of a consistent basis if your desire is to actually start getting better at an efficient rate. These particular things are very fundamental based, and depending on who you are and where your skills and abilities may currently be at, you may not have to be doing all of these things right now with extreme consistency. But I would say to err on the side of not being too confident with these things yet, just in case, if you really haven't worked on these things yet, you probably have a lot of room to grow within these particular skill sets, alright? So especially when it comes to things like comping, don't get too overconfident yet. All of these things have 100% contributed to my progress and are still things that I do today. And there wouldn't be any videos on these specific things if they didn't work, so you really don't want to shrug them off. Anyway, the first thing that you could already start to practice is all this stuff relating to developing your musical spirit, which I've been talking about a lot lately, and this stuff is specifically discussed in episodes 17 and 18. Early on in episode 4, I introduced the mind-body-spirit model that I like to apply to a fair amount of my practice, and I said that we would eventually really go deep into how exactly to develop each one of these individual components separately. Now, although the spirit is massively important, and I will definitely still be discussing it again in future videos, in terms of what to actually do on the guitar in order to develop it, I feel that it's way less involved of a process than working on things like the body and the mind. It's also probably the most misunderstood component amongst these three things, the mind, body, and spirit. So, because of these things, I wanted to include this topic early on with the other jazz fundamentals. And before moving on, I just want to say what I've been saying, which is that if you've seen these videos, I understand that a lot of what I say can seem very basic, but it really shouldn't be overlooked. And this is some of the best kind of work that you could actually do to develop your ability to truly be able to play the music that you hear in your head without being attached to any sort of habits or tendencies that you may do on your guitar. Alright, the next thing is my famous chord tones and half notes exercise that I primarily discuss in episodes 22 and 23. If you've seen a lot of my videos already, you know how important I think this exercise can be. To me, this is the best overall exercise that you could do to improve in your abilities to play changes fluently. The important thing to remember is that although this can be seen as a harmonic exercise, to me, it's most importantly functioning as a rhythmic kind of an exercise, because it's really working on your ability to be able to nail every chord change in time and not letting your possible lack of harmonic fluency get in the way and inevitably mess up the time. Episode 23 specifically really breaks down the process of how exactly to do this so that you're able to start from a place of comfort and then progress from there. The next thing to practice would be your comping, which is discussed in episodes 25 through 30 with the exception of episode 27. I don't really have anything to say right now on this topic other than just do what I say in these videos. Even though episode 30 specifically I think is more about, what you actually do on the gig. And also, there'll probably be a few more videos in the future about practicing your comping. After this, I would highly recommend that you start practicing the drums or percussion of some sort, and I talk all about this in episodes 31 and 33. I guarantee if you do this stuff consistently over time, your time feel will improve significantly, possibly way more than it ever could if you were only playing the guitar. So, need I say more? Now, episode 35 has a few extra legitimate rhythmic exercises, and you can do these as well as consistently as you like, but I would say that they're probably not priority number one, so just interpret that however you want, but they're still definitely great exercises that you may want to check out. Finally, episode 37 has some helpful exercises that you may want to apply to working on the melody to a new tune, alright? So that's a good one to keep in mind as well. So that's really it. We're just going to leave it there today, and if anyone has any comments or anything they want to say, just put it in the comments. I'm here to help. And in the next episode,
Hope you're ready for the next episode. Hey.
we're finally going to enter the humongous topic of working on the body and all the stuff that may go along with that. So you should definitely be excited. So that's it. If you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you gave it a like and consider becoming a subscriber as well as a contributor to Patreon, where for $5 a month you get all the PDFs that come out on this channel. And if you think anyone else would enjoy this content, please share it with them as well. And I will see you guys in episode 52.
And playing the blues. That's what we about.
I try to help you.